Hi, my name is Al Green. Not that one, but the struggling guy who was in the music industry for years trying to sell talent and songs to agents. The agents befriended me and taught me techniques that I want to pass on to you through my program, which is called You Can Talk, You Can Sell. Anyone who has ever taken this program has excelled in selling and either risen to the top of their company, their team, or the top of their field. It's called You Can Talk, You Can Sell, and you can get it right here.
Do you know exactly where your responsibility lies as far as your career? When you go into sales, you accept a responsibility to produce customers and orders for your company. And the only way that that's ever going to happen is if you take your work seriously and you stick to whatever discipline you have to in order to make everything be a great example of what a good salesperson can do. It's not just a job where you work to make ends meet. That's not the idea of being in sales. The idea is to propel yourself. The idea is to propel yourself into a place where you are rising up and showing your company that you are not only capable, but that you have the necessary talent and capability of producing for them. Now, one of the things that's important to remember is that if you focus on just your responsibility, then you will be in a place to make sure that you're doing everything that you can do so that nobody can criticize you and tell you you're not doing your job. But a lot of people, when they're actually not hitting the numbers and they're struggling to make the basic quota, they find that there are things missing, and those things are based on the responsibility that we all have to suffer. Okay? Now, one of the things that you can realize is that the best way to learn anything is to teach it to others. Whatever you learn here, you can take to other people on your team, and you can show that you can lead by example. I would not be sitting here being in a position to explain anything to you if I hadn't done it myself. And that's exactly what we mean. You have to live that life, and that's called integrity. So you have to have integrity. It's not all the little things that we learn. It's the overall ethos that we all must have, which is one of responsibility, honesty, morality, and we have to keep our focus on our career at all times. When I was being questioned years ago, and somebody was actually trying to take me down, it was just a matter of me realizing I'm only a salesperson. That's all I am. And yet for me to excel and do the things and accomplish the things that I was allowed to accomplish, it was because of learning the sales in a way where along with it came the ability to deal with people. Dealing with people is your main focus. You can't do anything at all in a job unless you're dealing with people. So you have to have people skills. Now, where do you get those? There's 1,000 places on the internet today. But for years, there were not that many places you could go to learn people skills. A lot of people think that there is a set of rules that you have to live by, and you may have never been exposed to those rules. They just think that's how it's supposed to be, so they put it on you to be that way. So you have people, for example, that are extremely fastidious and say, if you're going to call me at 3 o'clock, they mean 3 o'clock on the nose, on the nose. Look at your watch. They mean 3 o'clock. There are some people who are a little bit more relaxed, and If you call them at 3:05, that's perfectly okay. But if you call them at 3, you're not breaking any rules either. There are people that will make appointments with you, and they will misunderstand the meaning of your appointment. And that's basically something that if you take responsibility, you can overcome that. I've done that before by not being 100% clear of what I was selling. I was making appointments, and when I got there, I had people that were actually saying to me, "Why are you here again?" And I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. So I learned how to focus on what it was I was doing and put that across to those people. So the first time people that I called on to try to develop them as customer knew exactly why I was there. Now, the only way that I could learn how to deal with those people is by letting them talk to me and listening very carefully. Because one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they're not paying attention. If you pay attention, then you don't miss a thing. The little things in life will not surprise you because you're paying attention. Driving down a freeway one day, there was an accident I could tell about to happen in front of me. And it was literally, if I had kept driving and I wasn't paying attention, there was a car that was spinning around and was going to hit my car. But I swerved out of the way in advance because of the fact that I was paying attention. And I thought, if I don't get out of the way now, this is going to happen to me. Well, all those little accidents are just a metaphor for what happens in real life. Because a lot of times you can avoid a disaster if you could just pay attention and realize there's a potential there. I'm not talking about living in paranoia. I'm talking about being real about things that you pay attention to. For example, if you know that you've worked for a long time to get an appointment, and believe me, this has happened to all of us, including me, and something happens like traffic and you're late, you might be doomed for that appointment. It happened to me. And through no fault of my own, I couldn't get past the gridlock that was keeping me and making me 45 minutes late to an appointment that I spent over a month to get. It happens. Guess what? Couldn't close that account. The man that I was talking to considered that a sign of disrespect for not being on time. I didn't mean disrespect, but in those days there was no cell phone to call and say, hey, I'm stuck in traffic, I'm on my way. And people didn't have the understanding. They had schedules to make and they couldn't wait for somebody that's not going to show up. So, you leave in plenty of time, and sometimes things still happen. You know there's going to be gridlock if you live in a city where there's a lot of traffic every day. So you leave plenty early. Or, in many cases, I would go and leave before the traffic. Get ahead of the game and go to a coffee shop and maybe sit and have coffee or breakfast so that by the time came around for me to run to the appointment, I was maybe a half a block away. And that's just something that I was taught by. I finally found a mentor who was willing to coach me. He was a self-made millionaire that did it all by sales. Now at the time, this was not as common as it is today. And he told me, you write down on your calendar and you pay attention to your calendar. And he said, and if you write down as much as you can, as many appointments as you can on your calendar, then by all means, compare that at the end of the month to the number of checks that you bring in for your company, and they should match. Kind of a joke, but he talked to me also about one of the most crucial things that I learned in business, and that is whatever offers you might get to be able to close the sale. Whether your company throws at you some discount or higher delivery standards or whatever, or free installation or free service contracts or whatever, then those are your ace in the hole, as they say. In other words, you don't lead with that. That's something that you can add on during the close of the sale. And because many people don't understand that closing has a timing factor to it. And the only way that you can really learn what the correct timing is by gauging what the customer is saying. And as their enthusiasm builds, you don't want to jump too soon, because if you jump too soon and try to close too soon, you might give them the feeling that you're pushing, and they don't want a person who's pushing. What they want is somebody who is representing a professional. So let's not take this to the level of being a non-professional and doing all the talking, because the biggest mistake that we all make as salespeople is salespeople have a tendency to talk too much. I'm not talking about when you walk into a retail store. I'm talking about when you are going out to a customer and you are there to present and they're there to listen and they've agreed to see you or talk to you. And all you do is talk, 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 talk. No, that's not the most favorable way. The customers like to be treated. They want to talk and be heard and validated. You have to validate these people. Not everybody is taught all of the correct ways and protocols of working in sales. They don't always realize that there is another side to a profession, and that is people skills. Learning people skills is as simple as a few steps that will be covered in my program, the 6-Figure Selling System. I hope you'll be there and join me for that.